What is going on, guys? Welcome to episode 15 of our Cincinnati Reds franchise. If you guys missed the last episode, we were talking about some players that we were thinking about moving on the trade deadline. It is, in fact, the trade deadline today, July 31st. You guys can see we're 14 games away from 500, so we're definitely going to be a seller's market. So we got to figure out what players that we're thinking about selling off of this roster. And that was basically what last episode was all about. And I was actually pretty floored that a lot of you guys were talking about moving Joey Votto. And the big thing for me, my biggest takeaway here is that, you know, I'm from Michigan. You guys know this. I'm a big Tigers guy. And a lot of the Detroit Tigers fans, they couldn't even fathom getting rid of their stars. Just like the Justin Verlander trades from last year. Max Scherzer was let go. You know, all this stuff, all this star power, they couldn't really cope with the idea of getting rid of their star players. Same talk has been going around here in Michigan about Miguel Cabrera possibly being on the move eventually, maybe one day. He's getting a lot older. His injuries are starting to pile up. He's currently on the DL as I'm recording this. And I just thought it was interesting that a lot of the Cincinnati Reds fans out there are more than okay with trading a guy like Joey Votto, who for a long time has been the face of this Reds organization, which is, I mean, that's pretty crazy to think that you guys are okay with this. But for me, and what's funny is that for me, not being a total Reds, like, they're one of my top 15 favorite teams, but not one of my favorites, right? Not even one of my top fives. I couldn't fathom getting rid of Joey Votto. I couldn't do it. And I don't think I'm going to end up doing it in this franchise series unless something crazy happens. You guys were throwing out some ideas about Billy Hamilton possibly being on the move to try to get rid of some of his salary space, his salary cap here. Let's see, does it tell you here? Yeah, $4.4 million in his last year. I don't think that these guys are in their last years of their contracts. I think this has got to do with MLB The Show's roster issues, and even OSFM, I think, has some glitches when it comes to that. Like, some guys are in their final year when they're not really in their final year. I don't know what Billy Hamilton's status is in real life, though. But, yeah, you guys were talking about moving Billy Hamilton. Suarez's name never came up, which is interesting. Scooter Gennett's and Jose Peraza's name did come up quite often, and so did DeSclafani. Here's the deal with DeSclafani in my mind. I don't feel like the Reds are going to trade DeSclafani, maybe even in the winter meetings of this season, 2018, real life, because the guy's been hurt, right? They haven't really had a chance to see him in action, even in limited action last season. You know, I mean, well, not last season, but 2016, he's actually pitched pretty good for him. So I think that given his age at 27 years old, and now they've got Matt Harvey coming up, and now they've got Castillo, Romano, they've got some young guys. I think DeSclafani and Harvey and Castillo would be a nice 1-2-3 punch in that rotation for them. So I don't know if moving DeSclafani makes sense. I wanted to throw that out there in the last episode just to see what you guys thought, but I can't see him moving DeSclafani in this season. Who is the one guy I think that they could possibly move? It would be Raisel Iglesias, and I actually have some trades to show you guys, and I think this is the move that we're going to make, honestly, because everybody else, I've weighed it. I've tried to really dig down deep and figure out if I really want to make this move or not. And a lot of the stuff to me just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to move a guy like Gennett or Peraza or DeSclafani or maybe even Billy Hamilton. Like, they're still relatively young, guys, 27, 23, 27. So, and plus the market for these guys is not real huge. The market for Billy Hamilton probably be pretty large because of what he can do for an offense and a defense. But a guy like Scooter Gennett, there's not a whole lot of teams out there that would take a chance on him. I mean, at second base, second base is pretty much filled up. Even in the American League, even if you wanted to DH him, that's probably his best option, unless you're a National League team like us who actually really needs a second baseman, and there's not very many of those teams. out there. Peraza is super young at 23. He's just starting to come into his own. The trading Peraza doesn't make a whole lot of sense now. It did early on when I was really dogging the guy, but yeah, I don't think it makes sense any longer. But I think the state of the real-life Cincinnati Reds is that they've got a pretty legitimate offense. It's just the pitching that's got to get figured out, and then they'll be fine. The biggest thing is when you've got a guy like Raisel Iglesias, is you could possibly trade for some pitchers, maybe a good positional hitter. Like, that's a trade that you might want to make. So let's go ahead and now check out some of the trade offers that I've been fielding for Iglesias. All right, so guys, when I was looking at some trade opportunities for Raisel Iglesias, I was basically trying to look at it from a realistic perspective and say, okay, what team needs a setup guy or a late inning reliever, a closer, even possibly that? Like, what team really needs it this season in real life? And I'm looking at the Braves, because look at their bullpen right now. That's not too good. That's not too good. Look at their closer as Aradis Vizcaíno. Like, he's not too bad himself, but if you can get a guy like Raisel Iglesias, you're definitely gonna do that and pull the trigger on it. The only thing with the Braves is they had that situation that happened a couple years ago, maybe last year, where they lost all of, well, not all of, but they lost a lot of their young guys that they ended up signing through, I think it was the international free agent signings, because of the GM that they had. Did a lot of some shady stuff. So they don't really have a whole lot of young guys that they want to give up. And I'm looking at this like, okay, Fultonevich, 26 years old, Sean Newcomb, he's not going anywhere. Luis Gohara, he's not going anywhere either. Kyle Wright, Mike Soroka's already up, making an impact at the major league level. Matt Whistler might be a guy that they would want to trade, but I'm not too interested in Matt Whistler. He's never really shown that he can like put it together at the major league level. Where's another guy? Max Fried. He's not too bad. I mean, for being a rookie, 24 years old, he might be a guy that I'd want to acquire, but he's a 58 overall, 24 years old. That's kind of on the older scale. That'd be like a project guy. Positionally, they're really young with their starting guys, and their depth guys are like in the 50s. We don't need outfielders. I mean, it's just, there's not really a trade or a market here for making a move with the Braves. I just can't see one that would make sense. So the Braves, to me, in real life, don't rule it out. Don't rule Iglesias being traded over to the Braves out. If they remain in first place throughout the rest of the season, or if they're in striking distance to win the NL East, then Iglesias might make some sense here, because their bullpen is still kind of an issue in real life. Another team that I was thinking about making a move with was the Washington Nationals. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some teams that actually would make sense in real life, and the Nationals might make sense, because when you guys look at their depth here for relief pitching, it's not bad at all. I mean, Brandon Kinsler is a big-time relief pitcher. Joaquin Benoit is really good. Sean Kelly, Solis with that left-handed throw, Ryan Madsen, and then Sean Doolittle. There's nothing wrong with a team that's like in the World Series mix or championship mix to add to their bullpen. Like, you guys know the old adage, like, good pitching beats good hitting pretty much every day of the week. And that's even more true inside the playoffs, in the fall, when you really want to start shutting down and really closing the game up within 6 innings. You want to end the game in 6 innings? That's how you do it. It's a good bullpen. But again, there's nothing really here for us to make a move with. I mean, you could try to consider maybe AJ Cole, but 26 years old. I mean, he's been kind of spotty, really, at the major league level. 3.8 with a 1.5, 3.4 with a 1.2. That trade might make some sense because they don't really have any room for AJ Cole to even play him. Hellickson's pitching well, Gio's pitching well, Strasburg, Scherzer. There's really no room for AJ Cole. But let's just see what would happen here. So I was also looking at a guy, and you're not going to get Victor Robles, so don't even try that. Rafael Bautista, they might consider that too. But again, we don't really need outfielders. The one guy that I actually like was Jose Marmolejos. This trade would make some sense. I like this trade. I like Jose Marmolejos. The thing about this move is, though, guys, is that Marmolejos is not going to give you any power. So even if he takes over for Joey Votto, you're not going to get Joey Votto type of numbers out of Jose Marmolejos. You're going to get batting average. You're going to get doubles. You're going to get on base, but you're not going to get the power. So that's the big thing with Marmolejos. But he's a good young player, left-handed hitter, Dominican Republic. I like this trade. I just don't think that it's enough, really. So the Nationals are kind of out of it in my mind, but don't rule it out. Don't rule out Raisel Iglesias going to the Nationals in real life. So the other trade, and the one that I think I'm going to end up doing, is this one right here, guys, with the Diamondbacks. So they need some depth with pitching and bullpen big time. Randall Delgado, not too bad. Fernando Salas, not too bad himself. Brad Boxberger and Chafin are probably their better guys in real life. Right now, I think Boxberger is the closer. I could be wrong there. I don't know if Archie Bradley is hurt, but I haven't seen Archie Bradley do a whole lot in fantasy right now. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me. But, I mean, Hirano is pretty good. He's having a great season for the D-backs. Jorge De La Rosa gives you that lefty arm. But, you know, they've got some spotty guys. They could really use a guy like Raisel Iglesias. And, guys, the trade that I'm going to make is for this dude right here, Pavin Smith. First baseman, 22 years old, 70 overall. The guy can hit. He's got tons of power for being such a young guy. Like, I like Pavin Smith. And if you guys can bear with me for just a second, I'm going to pull up his scouting report right here. So here we go. Smith was one of the top and most advanced college bats in the 2017 draft class, one who walked 3 times more than he struck out. That's Joey Votto-esque right there. During his junior season at Virginia, en route to a 342, 427 batting line. He also homered more than he struck out and finished 6th all-time in the Cavaliers' career home run list and 2nd on their RBI list. His .318 average during his pro debut was good for 3rd best in the Northwest League, though he didn't show over-the-fence power. So the power is going to develop. And right now, though, guys, he's batting .200 with 21 strikeouts and 20 walks. So, you know, and he's at high-level A-ball right now. So, I mean, that's not bad, but their projection for Pavin Smith is that he is going to be ready to be a D-back in 2020. So by that time he'll be 24. Goldschmidt has a team option for 2019, and if they decide to go their separate ways, then Pavin Smith is going to be the first baseman for the D-backs in the near future. But he's blocked. He's blocked right now. And I don't think they have a problem with growing a guy like Pavin Smith. It's just you kind of have to make a call here. If you're in contention in the NL West to really make some big-time moves and win a division, are you going to trade an up-and-comer that you can't play while you're, like, good? I mean, you've got Paul Goldschmidt, one of the best hitters in the major leagues. If you can't play Pavin Smith because he's being blocked by Goldschmidt, your route to an NL West is pretty much going through Paul Goldschmidt. And if you're just going to hold on to Pavin Smith and Goldschmidt walks for money, and now you're playing Pavin Smith when you could have possibly added to that bullpen, that back end, and won a World Series, you know, this is a trade that you'd want to make, is Raisel Iglesias for Pavin Smith. But I'm not going to stop there. I think we need to get a little something extra And Daniel Descalso, not going to do it. Devin Marrero, not going to do it. Chris Owings, not going to do it. Not going to do that either. I was just clicking on stuff, guys, at this point, because right now Pavin Smith is like my guy. He's just my guy. Socrates Brito, not going to do that. Maybe there was a guy down here too that I actually have seen throw. Jimmy Sherfy, velocity 76. He's kind of a project dude. 53 overall right now. I mean, if you look at his attributes, they're not really that good, but the velocity's there. Hard thrower. I think this trade makes a heck of a lot of sense. We're shaving all that salary, 2.2 off the books. We're bringing in a first baseman. I know that we drafted that Nathaniel Williamson guy, but there's nothing wrong with competition at first base, especially when you're starting to deal with guys who are coming from the draft, plus guys like Pavin Smith who are really young. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with those guys when they start playing professional baseball. Not Major League Baseball, but just professional baseball in AAA, AA level. You never know what's going to happen with those guys in their development. So I like Pavin Smith. I like Jimmy Sherfy, not really because I think he's going to like do anything for us. But I mean, he might. You never know. You never know. He might really hit his stride down there in the AAA, AA level and really improve from a 53, maybe up to like a 62. That's probably where I think he's going to be at. But let's just pull the trigger on this, guys, and do this trade. So we have now acquired Pavin Smith to be the future at first base, or it could be Nathaniel Williamson. Like I said, guys, we're just going to have to test it out. That's all it comes down to. And I was looking at the total salary. Actually, I cited that as 2.2. I want to see what Iglesias was making. He was making 2.25. So I read that wrong, but regardless, it's pretty much negated. It's still the same thing. But look at Iglesias. Didn't look good in the D-backs uniform. Couldn't you guys see it in real life in the playoffs? Iglesias and Bradley in the back end. I think it's a good trade for the D-backs, and a good trade for us, a really good trade for us. So guys, that's actually going to be it for this episode. I'll make some changes here to the 40-man roster for episode 16, and then from there, we're just going to go ahead, maybe simulate some games here, maybe get into some actual gameplay and see some guys. And then episode 17, I think we're going to get into September, so you guys can start looking at some September call-ups, and then really start seeing what we've got for 2019. So guys, leave a like if you like this episode, and if you're new to the channel and you like it and you love it and you want more of it, you know what you got to do. Hit that red button for a subscribe or my logo, and never miss a Cincinnati Reds upload. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, peace.